Hello everyone, I am Randiano Tamelan from Lakoat.Kujawas, a community organization in West Timor, Indonesia. First of all, I would like to deliver my biggest gratitude for ALTERSEA, who allowed me to deliver my presentation in its first international video conference. My paper is about indigenous knowledge and the social movement, a lesson from Molo. Let me start my presentations by reading the philosophy of Molo. We are our world. Soil covers our land like our skin. Water flows through the land like our blood. The stones holding the land together are our bones. The forest moving with the wind is our hair. We are our world. People of Molo regard their biological body as the land of Molo itself. They live in the highlands. They are located on the western part of Timor Island. The people of Molo are farmers, and most of them survive their life by distributing livelihood within their community. People of Molo get their food, medicine, yarn to waves, and build their house from the resources of the forest in Molo. People in Molo also practice the value of manekat or mutual assistance in order to help each other, such as building houses, harvesting, and other events in the village. The highlands of Molo is also rich in oil, gas, gold, and marbles. In 1995, the highlands of Molo were mined by the mining companies without the consent of the locals. The mining operation brought harmful impacts to the environment and traditional practice of the indigenous people. Experiencing those negative effects, people started to resist. In 1996, people started a movement to protest against a mining practice. What makes it special is because the initiator of the movement were the women of Molo. I've met several of them: Mama Lodia, Mama Delci, Mama Nachi, Mama Aleta, and many more. They are mothers and young women turned activists. The women of Molo started their mission by influencing the local community using indigenous knowledge as the basis to gather their voice and action. However, not all people in Molo wanted to agree with the idea of the social movement. There were also people who were attracted to the offers from the mining company to employ them. The need for cash, the offer of the company gave influence several people of Molo not to fight. After gaining sufficient support from the people of Molo, the women of Molo started the process of demanding their rights to the mining companies and the government. However, it wasn't easy. Along the way, the women protesters were experiencing human rights violation just because they raised their voice against the mining. They got beaten by the preman, an Indonesian word that means thug or gangster. They were also slandered and being the target of the military. Mama Leta, for example, hid in the forest of Molo for months because her head was put in a price. Despite the oppression from the companies and lack of the attention and support from the government, the people of Molo keep fighting for their freedom. The most significant movement was recorded 10 years after 1996. It was 2006 where people in Molo found their way to reject mining companies in a very authentic way. Around 500 women took actions by occupying the mining areas. They set and waved sacred sarongs, woven fabric, traditional fabric, in silence. They took with them all the things they need to use the weaving and did it by blocking the extra feathers. They ask they ask their husband to stay at home and do the household work while they are protesting on the field. They did not let the mining activities run but kept behaving in a very peaceful way for a whole year, days and nights. This unique social movement grew public awarenesses, and the pressures on the mines mounted. Peaceful resistance was working. The whole year's movement was successful. In 2007, the government started to acknowledge the Molo's people's rejections toward the industry, and the companies gave up their activities. The mining was closing slowly, and it took almost 6 years until finally, in 2013, they left the mountains of Molo for good. The people of Molo started to celebrate the battle by creating a festival called Ningkam Haumeni every May to remember the land and the fight of the Molo to keep their land, to protect their land and their identity as well. They also reforest the ex-mining areas with avocados, oranges, and other fruits that have the profit value. They also established farming groups, weaving groups, and livestock groups. In 2019, the number of the group was around 1,300 all over the highlands of Molo. With the group, they strengthened their position in Molo as the keeper of Molo to sustain the environment and their identity. Today, the women movement in Molo has succeeded in protecting their land, identity, and traditional life practice. But that doesn't guarantee that they are not under the threat anymore. Young people today are aware that for a very long time their identity has been threatened by the neoliberal government policies. So the struggle to maintain their identity and rights as indigenous community continue to this day, and it is very important. With the government's narratives which began to create a more cosmopolitan society, it actually threatens the lives of the people of Molo. People in the village began to slowly switch their lifestyle to become more modern individuals. People have begun to slowly abandon their traditional practices. They do not speak the local languages. They feel embarrassed of wearing their traditional attire. They see villages as an underdeveloped region without potential. They leave their village to work outside as labor. The people who stay in the village are also starting to abandon their traditional practice. They do not plant the local food, do not build the traditional houses anymore, and live in a more modern lifestyle. One tangible example is that the local food. If we went to Molo people's houses 10 to 20 years ago, we would be served with bananas, sweet potatoes, popcorn, many more. Today, we are served with biscuits and instant noodles. They're also starting to forget the value of the Molo people, who live in a mutual obligation to keep their land, water, forests, and rocks, and most of all, their identity. Today's youth in Molo see this as a threat to their indigenous community. In 2016, a local organization called Lakoat.Kujawas started the initiative to fight the issues. The community works to increase self-confidence and self-esteem of children and youth in Molo through art and literacy workshops. The organization then continues to provide spaces for the younger generation to learn about their identity. For example, by learning about traditional fabric that contains the deep meaningful lessons about their identity and their relationship with the earth. The organization continues to fill the gap that was missing from the local practices. Moreover, the community continues the movement by not opposing the neoliberal ideas. They are able to engage in activities to preserve their indigenous knowledge and practice with the market. The community grows to make the youth understand about their identity and learn what they can produce out of their indigenous practice and indigenous knowledge. The result is what they offer to the market. To this extent, the youth created new form of resistance by assimilating the function of the market for the preservation and promotion of their indigenous knowledge and practices. The Molo people embrace the values of substantive authenticity in their social movement as an action to counter the dominant discourse that eliminates their identity and threaten their life in post-neoliberal reforms in Indonesia.